All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. If you close your eyes right now and picture a yoga practice, what comes to mind? Probably a crowded, heated studio, maybe some expensive, branded activewear, or an influencer nailing a handstand on a beach, right? Well, actually, scratch that. The landscape of yoga in 2026 is undergoing this massive, frankly fascinating shift. We are looking at a space where ancient philosophy is literally colliding head-on with cutting-edge technology. It's not just a passing fitness trend anymore, it's evolving into something much, much deeper.
And honestly, it's a pretty jarring contrast when you think about it. On one end of the spectrum, you've got the ancient pursuit of spiritual liberation, monks meditating in austere discipline. And on the other end, the reality of 2026. We've got modern practitioners in downward dog, hooked up to AI wearables, carefully tracking their nervous systems in real time. Kind of makes you wonder, right? How exactly did a deeply spiritual path to enlightenment transform into a data-driven wellness regimen?
Well, the narrative is completely shifting. Today's wellness industry is actually reframing these ancient postures as an original form of biohacking. Think about it. People aren't just stretching to get flexible anymore. They're using yoga as a super precise lifestyle technology to optimize their health span, build mental resilience, and actively manage their autonomic nervous system. It's way less about just touching your toes and way more about literally rewiring your biology.
So, that brings us to the ultimate question we're going to unpack together today. Is modern technology destroying yoga, or is it saving it? Are smartwatches and heavy commercialization ruining a sacred tradition by turning it into just another branded exercise routine? Or, and this is the wild part, are these very tools actually returning yoga to its original purpose, a systematic method for reshaping human consciousness? To figure that out, we have to look back. Yoga didn't just pop up overnight in a suburban strip mall, right? It's been evolving for centuries. You first see hints of ecstatic practitioners way back in early Indian texts, the Vedas and Upanishads. Then, during the classical period, the sage Patanjali actually codifies these scattered practices into the famous Yoga Sutras. Fast forward to the medieval period, and tantric philosophy shifts the focus heavily to the physical body as a literal vehicle for liberation, which, by the way, gives birth to Hatha Yoga. And finally, in the 20th century, teachers like Paramahansa Yogananda bring the practice over to the West, sparking the massive global phenomenon we recognize today.
But to really grasp those roots, we've got to understand the classical dualistic philosophy that Patanjali drew from. It basically revolves around two key concepts. First, there's Purusha, which is pure consciousness, or the witnessing self. And then there's Prakriti, which is the material world, and that includes our ever-changing thoughts and our physical bodies. Think of Purusha as the blank movie screen and Prakriti as the dramatic movie playing on it. The ultimate goal here, moksha or liberation, is achieved when you finally realize that you are the screen, not the changing drama or the shifting mental states you're experiencing.
And because of that goal, historically, yoga was not primarily a set of postures. That's a huge modern misconception. The physical practices we absolutely obsess over today, they were just one small piece of a much, much larger spiritual discipline. The real core encompassed stringent ethics, profound sensory withdrawal, and deep, sustained meditation. The physical body was just the starting line, definitely not the finish line.
In fact, Patanjali defines yoga simply as the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. To put that in today's terms, it's about getting the endless chatter, the daily anxiety, and that irresistible urge to doom scroll in your head to just finally stop. This implies something pretty massive. The intricate poses and the focused breathing techniques, they aren't the main event. They're just tools. They are literally ancient technologies designed specifically to stabilize your attention and quiet the noise.
When you break down Patanjali's 8-limbed path, you see a really deliberate progression. You don't just jump straight into downward dog. You start with ethics, restraints and observances like nonviolence, truthfulness, and how you treat yourself and the people around you. Only after you've built that solid ethical foundation do you move on to regulating the physical body and the breath. And that physical regulation ultimately prepares your brain for the higher cognitive stages: concentration, meditation, and finally, complete mental absorption. Okay, but flash forward to today, and the landscape is completely unrecognizable. Get this. Market analyses project the global yoga industry to surpass $120 billion. That's billion with a B. It's absolutely staggering. It's transformed from an ascetic discipline practiced in remote ashrams into this booming global economic engine with massive annual growth. And you know, with $120 billion comes a whole lot of debate. On one hand, critics fiercely argue that this commercialization, the social media aesthetics, the endless merchandise, the heavily branded styles, it dilutes the core philosophy. They say it turns it into just another workout fad. But on the flip side, you really can't ignore the advocate's point. This massive scale has totally democratized access. It's bringing real pain relief, improved mobility, and tangible stress reduction to millions of people who probably would never have set foot in a traditional meditation center.
So if we map out the 2026 landscape based on our sources, 3 booming trends really emerge. First, you've got these highly experiential niches. Think doing yoga playfully with animals or retreating deep into the wilderness for eco-yoga. Second, there are clinical, evidence-based therapies where yoga is literally being prescribed right alongside conventional medicine for things like addiction recovery or healthy aging. And third, we're seeing this highly sophisticated digital ecosystem completely powered by AI wearables and entirely virtual communities. Now, one of the clearest shifts we're seeing right now is a major pivot back toward mental wellness over purely physical fitness. There is a massive rise in trauma-aware and somatic-informed methodologies. Honestly, it's becoming way less about achieving the perfect Instagram-worthy handstand and much more about utilizing slower pacing, prioritizing clear consent, and creating safe spaces for deep anxiety relief and true nervous system regulation.
And technology is bridging this gap in almost sci-fi ways. Imagine waking up. Your wearable detects that you had terrible sleep and high stress, and an AI immediately generates a custom restorative sequence exactly tailored for your body that specific morning. Add in spatial audio and multi-camera streams for total sensory immersion, plus global chat groups, you've got what analysts are actually dubbing the modern digital ashram. Of course, there's a really fascinating tension right now between intense fitness and scientific authenticity. While some classes are out there blending yoga with high-intensity acrobatics, a whole new demographic is treating it like a precise, measurable science. They're actually using biohacking data to track their heart rate variability and neuroplasticity in real time. They want to see exactly how ancient breathing techniques physically alter their modern stress hormones.
So here is the profound convergence of 2026. Despite all the commercial gloss, the AI and biohacking gadgets are actually functioning as consistency tools. They nudge people, they track progress, they ensure practitioners actually show up enough to rewire their habits and their nervous systems exactly as those ancient ascetics originally intended. Yoga is becoming, once again, exactly what it always claimed to be, a literal technology of consciousness. It's just being distributed through an app now.
So what does this mean for us? How do you apply this macro trend to your own life without getting completely overwhelmed by all the options? Well, the sources suggest looking for structured offerings that go beyond just the physical poses. Seek out classes that actually include ethical reflection or dedicated meditation time. Use those digital hybrid memberships to keep yourself consistent day to day. Track what genuinely works for your body's recovery. And hey, if you're dealing with specific conditions, definitely collaborate directly with credentialed yoga therapists.
Ultimately, the story of modern yoga isn't about technology replacing tradition, not at all. It's about layering. The ancient philosophy hasn't been erased by the tech, they are actively coexisting. We live in this fascinating world where a smartwatch push notification reminding you to take a breath operates perfectly alongside ancient sutras about stilling the mind. If yoga's early philosophers could somehow see us today, I bet they'd recognize the exact same goal hidden right beneath the gadgets. The tools have absolutely changed, but the core purpose remains exactly the same. So the question I'll leave you with is this: how will you use these tools, both the ancient and the modern, to systematically transform your own experience of mind and life? Something to think about. Thanks for exploring this explainer with us.